This is This Week in Perspective with me, Adam Simbeye. Earlier this month, the National Examination Council, NECTA, Executive Secretary, Dr. Charles Musonda, announced the results for 2018, which I suppose the exams were taken towards the end of 2017, of Standard 4 and Form 2. Which indicated an improved performance in pass mark by almost 0.3% in subjects such as geography, English, language, physics, chemistry, and biology. But it also indicated poor performance in civics, Kiswahili, and basic mathematics. To discuss these results with me today, whether in their view, my panelists here, it's actually a good performance or what, or still not satisfactory, we will hear from them. On my right is Ochola Oyoga, who is coordinator of Tanzania Education Network, correct?
Yes, sir.
He's participating for the first time, but we're happy you're here. Welcome to the program. Next is Dr. Jason Ishengoma, a retired academic of University of Dar es Salaam, who is in the Department of Unit of Philosophy in there, and I suppose you're a teacher also by profession. You must have been teaching somewhere before you went there. Left is a veteran of the program, Mwalimu, I always call her Mwalimu, they're all Mwalimus, Charles Philemon Mabonda, former Director of Secondary Education in the Ministry, so I call him retired educationist. He might be active still, but he's retired educationist. And last but not least, Dr. Dina Baga, a veteran of the program as well, just like Charles Mabonda. He's a retired academic. She's a retired academic of University of Dar es Salaam, but she prefers to be identified as an independent education researcher. Dr. Baga, welcome to the program after a while. You have been appearing on the promo for this program for some time until people said, "What is it? You love this woman? Why every time she's on the promo to market the program?" So eventually the people decided, said this is too much. They removed it because you were together. You were seen together with Professor Maxim Muya, who sadly passed away about 2 weeks ago from the University of Dar es Salaam Political Science Department. So welcome to the program once again. Gentlemen, I welcome you to the program.
Thank you very much.
Viewers, I apologize. Well, maybe I should apologize, or I should say, invitation was extended to the Executive Secretary of NECTA, Dr. Charles Musonda, but due to a tight program, I think he was driving to Dodoma, he couldn't make it. Nonetheless, he said, he asked me to go ahead and get whoever can come and discuss it. That's why I have these 4 people. Again, I tried to get John Ikalage, who is the director of Haki Elimu. Unfortunately, he's also away. So, my apologies for that. In terms of gender, for the first time this year, because this is the second program, it's well balanced. I mean, well, you can argue it, but one does not represent many. But for me, one represents gender balance against the 3 men here. And since she's a veteran, she represents gender, feminine gender, as it were, very well, because she's experienced. So welcome again to the program, my dear panelists. Let us look at this in the next 55 minutes and see, and let the viewers hear from you about this examination, as your comments. Okay? Let me start with you, Mwalimu Charles Philemon Mabonda. Then you will also answer the same question. What is your analysis and comment on these results in terms of the quality of education in this country?
Thank you, Mzee. And it's an honor to be involved in this program this year, starting this early. the issue of examinations. I've always said this, I'll say it again this time. One, I congratulate the people of Nectar. Working through those results, I know it's a big job. But giving the results that they are being given is good. It helps researchers to do researches. You can find a lot of information from the data that is given by Nectar and use it. And I think for that, I congratulate Nectar for arranging that data in that way. But on the other hand, I'm a little disturbed that we are getting the same information always.
Same.
Same
and presented in the
information.
same manner, I suppose.
Maybe that's what the clientele, the customers want it to be. I don't know. But I wish Nectar would have done a little bit more, a little different. I know people will work with the data that they give. For example, the percentages that are being given, the ranking of schools and even of students or pupils.
When you say ranking, Mwalimu, you mean the best 10,
Yes.
the best poor down there?
Yes.
This has always been there.
That is
always
always
announced
been-
that.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm saying they are doing so, but I wish they would have done a little bit more. For example, if you say this is the first school, and this is the 10th school, and this is the 20th school, how do you get this rank? And how different, what is the gap between the first and the second and the 10th? Because I know sometimes maybe we are giving them more credit than maybe what they deserve. I don't know. But I also know that in seeking to get that rank, as a region, as a council, as a student,
It's a district, I suppose.
yeah, there is a lot of foul play as well. We know this. This has been.
Okay.
was
Was this found in the Ministry of Education during your time?
Even at that time, yes, even at that time. But very recently, you heard of what happened in one council, one district in Dodoma. They had to redo the examination. I don't know. Maybe that's not the cause of it. But I know for many time, when you are told that you have, or you're being the 100th and you're the 10th, and you want to be the first or the second or the third, the way to arrive at that goal sometimes carries with it a lot of negative things. And I would wish that Nectar would tell us, give us more information, what really is involved here in ranking, which maybe will help people not to arrive at that rank unjustifiably. We need people to do a positive work all the time, and I think that will be the best reward that examinees and those people who are behind them
And the
would
school.
give. Yes, rather than arriving at a position, but some people are not happy how you arrived there.
Did it, sorry,
Yes, you're welcome.
did it strike you as very interesting, or not very strange, but somehow, that schools in Twara performed better this time around, if I'm correct? Does this surprise you? Even the Zanzibari school.
No, it didn't surprise me because in one way, and this I wanted to speak a little longer about it, but what do examinations reveal? What do we get from examinations really? What do they measure? What is the focal point really in any examination? Why exams? There is a possibility that what is true today for one region, for one, as you have cited, in Twara, may not be the same next year. because of the mechanism of itself of giving examinations and doing the examinations. And because of this ranking, there is a possibility of running for those or the first and whatever positions in a way that you can't monopolize the position that you're having this year. So I'm not really surprised. And anyone has the potential and the chance to be the first, the second, or the third, as well as to be
the last.
You have said it.
All right. Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Before I go to the only lady on the table, maybe Dr. Jensen, in view of your experience, can you tell us what would you say about these results? You had your fellow Mzee, educationist and civil servant in the midst of education for a long time. He has taught so many. What would you say about this?
Yeah, I think in general, they say the results are encouraging, say in general. The ranking, I just pick it from where Marim stopped. The ranking is good in today's world of competition, that we are teaching our children, we are teaching our institutions like schools and districts and to be ranked. Because the ranking, whether it has got some weaknesses, but it is a good way of improving our competitions. Now, the problem comes with the way the examinations are, first of all, conducted, the way the students are examined, especially if you look at if you examine the examination of the primary 4, the setup is not exactly the same. In Kiswahili and English, for instance, in Kiswahili they have any multiple choice. But in English, for the vocabulary, they are the multiple choice. Okay, so you can see whatever we are focusing at, are we looking for the content or the context? So I think our examination setup also.
I'm sorry, Dr. Yes, and these are two languages, basic languages.
Yes. In Kiswahili, if you analyze the standard 4 exam, you are about 4. In English, I mean, you are about 4 multiple choices on the code, I think, vocabulary. The rest was feeling and all this kind of thing. But in Kiswahili, all the questions were to be filled, or like say, to finish the sentence or answer the question. For instance, haraka haraka, then you fill. Okay. Well, that was not given, let's say, in English. Okay. Now, that's one. Second thing in the examination results is, if you see that English has improved, and on my own experience, I am not quite happy with the way English is taught in our country. Because one of the big problems we are having from the university level to the lowest level is the English, or the way English is taught, or the way English is used.
Right. And experience. Let's see how Adina Baga, a fellow educationist, who has been on this program many times, and particularly discussing more or less the same issue way back. Dr. Mbaga, you had the two wazee, Jema Bonda and then Dr. Jensen.
I am more mwalimu.
You are a more mwalimu. I know. Not mwalimu, the mwalimu we know.
No. The mwalimu in practice.
Yes.
Practitioner.
Yes. So, what have you got to say on this before I come to
Yeah. Thank you so much for again inviting me to the program. The question of examinations improvement performance, I think, should be looked at in a wider perspective. First of all, standard 4 examination and Form 2 examination are very crucial as far as our education system is concerned. Because now being retired, I might be out of the up to date, but they are really given to measure how much those pupils, let's say, are qualified to move from standard 4 to standard 5, and then standard 6 and 7. So it's really given in the middle to test how much they have achieved. So it's a measure of achievement. And there are these 3 R's: reading, writing, and mathematics. It used to be, when we were at the ministry, that if a child doesn't perform well, then they should be given an opportunity to either repeat a class or given remedial education. And we should understand, or it should be, that the whole objective of having children in school is to see that they learn. So if the child is not learning, then you should find ways to make sure that they learn.
Taking them out of school?
Not taking them out of school. You either sort of give them remedial education, or you allow them to.
As a teacher's experience for remedial education. So this is also.
We'll come to that.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, but it is stated in the policy.
All right.
Or statements. Then the same with Form 2. A child, are they qualified to move on with education? Now, if you do that, I'm sure you have good intentions to see where they haven't performed well. And in this case, we have indicated that it was Kiswahili, English, and I think civics.
English, civics, and basic math. Swahili, civics, and basic mathematics.
And basic mathematics.
Which
Now,
NECTA said there was no good performance, poor performance.
That is very unfortunate, because these are key subjects as far as our education system is concerned. English, Swahili, and arithmetic. And as I said, they are also in the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. So we can say those are basic subjects as far as our primary and secondary education is concerned. Now, Dr. Shengoma discussed it very well when it comes to language, because language is what gives you can't express yourself without language. Unfortunately, just adding to what he said, our friends in Kenya, they are doing much better in Kiswahili than we are doing. Because I think they are teaching it as more as a foreign language than as here we think we speak Swahili. I mean, there's a difference between spoken Swahili and written Swahili. But what I'm saying is that language is a basis for everything, a basis for expression, verbally, for writing. So they are key. And arithmetic is equally very important, especially now that we are saying we are moving into an industrial country kind of thing. You need to have measurements, even if it is at village level calculation. You want to see how the distance, if you are planting, let's say, pawpaw trees. You need
even
to find even maize. How far should one whatever be from the other? You need that.
The distance between one set of seeds and the other.
Yeah, but then let me come to the way the examination results are announced. It looks like socially it's accepted because it gives you hope that we are making improvement. But you can't talk of examination without talking of education. Does that give us a picture of the kind of education that we are giving?
Is that the role of NECTA?
Well, if they are part of this country, it should be the role. I mean, when they measure this, there are so many factors You are not just looking at the cognitive. There are other aspects that you are going to measure. For example, you talk about civic education. You are talking about, you also have to have cultural aspects of this. You need to have ethics. You need to have a lot of things.
And the current information.
In the current news. So we are only looking at the cognitive at the expense of all these other qualities which we should measure in our children. So we shouldn't be surprised to get the kind of people we get at the end, because we have forgotten other aspects. That is one. The second thing is, it's good to have figures, but figures doesn't tell us much about the realities of what we want to get. You want to get people who can think, people who can argue, people who can give their views, people who can analyze things. So just saying that we have improved by so much doesn't tell us the kind of products we are getting. I would like to equate this with what former President Mkapa once was invited to Norway, and you know how these partners are. They are always talking about how much they are giving you, and maybe you are not improving or improving. But he said, you know, you are giving us the money, but for me, I'm not looking at the money. I'm looking at these children, some who are dying of hunger, dying. So I'm looking at life more than at the figures. So it's good to have the figures, but the figures don't give us the realities of the kind of people that we are producing. So I would have liked another aspect to be added to this, because these children are not teaching themselves. We have teachers. So what does it tell us about the quality of teachers we have for mathematics, for Swahili, and for English? As Mr. Ishema said it so well, that they're out of stock. So what do we do? If we really want to talk of improved quality of education, we have to start with the quality of teachers. So let's not just measure one aspect of how many passed and how much improvement. What kind of teachers do we have? Why should anybody talk about, of course we know children have different abilities. So the results shouldn't be just looked in terms of figures. We should also look at what contributes to these results. So it indicates that there's something more which needs to be done.
Okay, Dr. Mbaga, thank you very much. I mean, you added more value to what my old men explained. Ngoma and Mwalimu Mabonda. It's very interesting, but for many people, and particularly parents, it should not be just good news that this year or the last examination it was a good performance by so percent. At the same time, you say, well, students didn't perform well in civics, Kiswahili, which is a national language, teaching language, actually, language of instruction, and basic mathematics. So, to me, it sounds like it's garbage in, garbage out. And
you can say that. Yeah.
Can I? Okay. Dr. Shangoma referred to the products we get from the University of Dar es Salaam. You are teaching at the University of Dar es Salaam. You are now outside there and doing a lot of research. Can you confirm what Dr. Shangoma said? That some of our graduates from the University of Dar es Salaam, or even other universities, don't have the competency in the basic language, which is international, English, and maybe even Kiswahili, because Nectar said they didn't perform well. Those who are in standard 4 and Form 2 are going to continue with further education.
Do you want me to comment on that?
If you may.
We are talking, here we are talking of foundation. Think of you, Mr. Simbeye, building a house, and you are putting sand instead of stones. Definitely that house
I'm using mud instead of cement.
Instead of cement. So we need to look at, first of all, to revisit the way the teaching and learning processes are taking place from the foundation. And we are talking of basic education, elimu ya msingi. So we are building the foundation at primary education. So if we are not having a firm foundation, we shouldn't expect miracles to happen. Mind you, this is a world of miracles. People are running everywhere looking for miracles. But when it comes to education, I think we need to be serious, because the development of a country depends on the country, the kind of education that you are giving. Mind you, education and development are symbiotic. One cannot do without the other. So these results also makes us think of what kind of foundation are we building. If a teacher cannot speak, I mean, as we say, we have sort of messed up with our Swahili, because we are so proud that we're a Swahili speaking country, so we forget that there are basics of teaching Swahili, and there's spoken and written Swahili. So we need to also produce more books. But coming to the university, we are more examination oriented than quality oriented, because we are looking at pass and fail in a continuum. We are not thinking, or we need to revisit our education, saying that not all children can perform in the same manner. We don't have the same talents. There are those children who have learning difficulties. They will maybe only be able to to play football. There are those children who are good at writing poems and reciting them. There are those who are good in football, but we are putting all our children in one basket. Yeah, we are putting all our children in one basket. We have forgotten that education is also supposed to develop talents of the children and nurture them. That's why I said from the beginning, we are only looking at the cognitive. We are not looking at a child as an individual. We are putting all children in one basket. Therefore, if you fail, then you are labeled a failure. But I have other talents. For example, I did a research in one of the districts, and one boy in a class who is very good with poems, football, and he has also other responsibility at home. He tells me, when I put up my hand, teachers don't even ask me, because they have already labeled him as dull. So there are so many things which we need to take care of, that examinations is not the only measure of what a person can do. People have talents. What are we doing to develop the talents of these children? And at the end, we are saying, we don't have experts for this, we don't have experts for that. Talents don't just emerge like mushroom. Talents need to be nurtured. So it's good to have examinations, but not to use it as the only tape measure for what the child can do and not do. So let's revisit our education system so that we also promote talents, not just the cognitive.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mbanda. Very interesting and very powerful analysis, as I started by the panelists here. Now, let me turn to you, Ochola Oyobla. You're coordinator of an NGO called Tanzania Education Network, is it?
Absolutely.
Can you explain first, very quickly, what does the Tanzania Education Network does? Then I'll follow up with a few questions in relation to what we're discussing.
Thank you very much, the anchor of this week perspective. It's my first time being here, and I thank the rest of the panelists for the discussion that they have heard so far. Tanzania Education Network is an umbrella organization that brings together over 180 NGOs, INGOs, CSOs, community-based organizations, across the country. These organizations are working in the areas of education, from basic education to secondary education. And our responsibility is to develop the capacity of most of these organizations in the areas of improving the quality of education in the country. And with respect to the results that have come out on 10th, Attainment, which is Tanzania Education Network, take it very seriously because it involves a lot of our partners and collaborators who are having something to do in the sector of education. We just don't look into the numbers in terms of the percentage increase, but we look into the overall process of education in the country, starting with the national policy by itself. And we ask ourselves whether, with the existence of the national policy that is in place, are these the results that we really envision? But again, on top of that, we don't look into the numbers I've just said, but also we look into the input, the interventions that all these NGOs are putting into the education sector. Are they really giving the results that is expected? Are we moving upward or we are moving downward?
So stagnating.
Or we are just at the level that is stagnant? And where are the areas that need additional intervention in terms of improving the competence of the students and the pupils who are doing this examination? But on top of that, we are also looking at how the nation is developing its human capital. Because when we are talking about these results, we are talking about the future human capital and global citizens of this country. And whether we are doing the right things in terms of training them to be global citizens. So at Attainment, these results have just come in, but also we looked into the numbers of the students who did not have an opportunity to sit for exams. If you look at the grade 4 performance and the quantitative numbers, there were like 87,000 students who didn't perform well. Basically, they failed the exam. And if you could break this one down, if a particular school has 80 students doing grade 4, you are talking about 1,000 classrooms, 1,000 schools with 80 students per stream who could not perform well in these results. And we ask ourselves now, what are the reasons why we have close to 87,000 students who did not perform well in these examinations? So with our network, we sit down and we look into various interventions. Despite the fact that we are looking at the increasing pass rate, but also we are focusing on the numbers of students who did not pass. And what are we doing about this? Is it about the learning environment? Is it about the early marriage? Is it about the poor preparation in terms of early child development? Yes, is it about infrastructure? Is it about the teachers themselves or the parents? So when we sit down with our partners, development partners, collaborators, and the stakeholders, we really envision into addressing the challenges that do emanate out of our education system. But again, we do advise the government in terms of, for instance, we are talking about 23 billion per month being spent on free education. We need to sit down and think about it seriously. With 23 billion, are these really the results that we really wanted? Having invested 23 billion every month. But again, we need to look back and sit down in terms of all organizations, CSOs, working in the sector of education, look at the numbers, whether our interventions have really responded to what we generally wish to see in the education sector.
Yeah, very much. Ochola Yoga. It seems the TANET is TANMET.
TANMET, Mtandao wa Elimu Tanzania. Yeah.
In English,
Tanzania Education Network.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has a stake in here, and I think he's doing very well to do that. But I'm even more gratified to note that you also bringing in all these NGOs and stakeholders. You are concerned about the results which are coming out and whether spending the 23 billion which you said per month into education system is really worth the products we're getting after the examination. Now this is very interesting. Maybe I should go back to Mwalimu and say all what you four of you have said is really very interesting, and it evolves around the quality of education of this country. The end products of our kids going to school, what do we expect from them? But what is it that they get when they get to the classroom? First, there's a number, there are too many of them. Okay, in the past, they were sitting on the floor, on the grass, whatever, but the Fifth administration came in with much more emphasis and provided so much resources to have desks and all that, and companies started volunteering making desks. But is increasing the desks panacea to improving the quality of education or improving the performance? As the writer said, is examination maybe I should say the best or the only assessment base for education and for our children? How can we assess them differently? So I look at the teaching aspect, as you rightly said, and did also. Do you think, Dr. Mzee, teaching and availability of teaching and instruction materials in schools inadequate or adequate, or they are outdated, or is the teaching personnel that are not really up to the grade?
Maybe I should start by supporting what my colleagues have said, that actually we shouldn't focus on examination alone. It's not enough to measure the quality that we need to have in education. And we really need to ask ourselves quite a number of questions in examination. And I think I'll say one or two words a little later. But I want to agree that we need to look, we shouldn't be examination oriented. It has some problems. We may lose something when we are aiming at quality of education. If we may be blinded by seeking examination for the sake of examinations. And I want to share my concern, for one, that when we are so much focusing on examinations and passing examinations and the honors that we get because we have passed this examination, we have
And acquiring a certificate at the end.
yes, and getting this rank and that rank. Do you know what is happening? We have now 4, 5 national examinations. Standard 4, Class 7, Form 2, Form 4, Form 6. National examinations. Sector is having a big job. But before any national examinations, we have mock examinations. And mock examinations may come as a zonal examination. And maybe before zonal examinations, we have regional examinations. We still have school examinations. We have tests as well. And I'm getting concerned because the number of days that are being used, that a pupil and the teacher are thinking of examinations and examinations and examinations. I don't know, I haven't counted them. But I believe it will be a good enough number to be concerned about. And when we are focusing or when we are wrapped up in doing this examination and that examination and passing it enough to be recognized, there are certain things that we may leave out, important. Some of them have been pointed out here. Like, are we looking at the talents of an individual pupil? And we have said here, somebody among us said, yes, said a child is an individual, rather than looking at the cognitive alone. The issue he raised up here of building a human capital. Is examination a tool enough to build human capital for this country? And I think we need to look a little bit more than that. But I still think the government has seen some of these things, and they have tried to raise the standard of the building we are using. The infrastructure is a little bit better. I'm told that there is money flowing into the schools, and therefore it helps getting some of the teaching and learning materials. I don't know to what extent.
Particularly books.
Particularly books, but I know books are expensive, and I don't know if we have had enough books. I know of last year and the year before, they equipped laboratories, the government equipped laboratories, and many of them were better than a few months before, a few years before. But we need to really focus, to start afresh and say the focus is quality education. Define the term quality education, put the indicators that we want to focus on, and then work towards that. Examination may be one way of assessing how good our pupils are good at a particular subject. But unfortunately, an examination, if you pass it or you fail it, may only measure you against what the teacher taught you and how people have said here, you framed what was being taught. And now you are reproducing, replicating, bringing back that which you put in your head.
If you have a good memory.
If you have a good memory. and people give you a tick. People say, yes, this is the person we want. And the person who may have not done as well in that examination may be actually a better person in building a nation. Human capital, which we want.
Okay. I'm being warned, we have 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's too fast.
You can see that the
Yeah.
time has gone fast, but the problem with interesting topics like Dr. Mbaga, did you want to come in? Or
Yeah,
follow up on that
I just
quickly?
wanted to follow up
Yes.
on what Mr.
Ochola.
said.
Yeah.
And what Mzee here, you are called Mzee, yeah?
Mwalimu.
Mwalimu.
I'm still young.
Yeah. Now, it gave me another perspective of the subject about the cost of examinations. Cost of examinations in terms of where would we better put our money when we are talking about education. This whole all these kind of examinations, cost, preparation, whatever.
Cost
And
of
then there are
paper.
people, it's paper, it's time, there are people who will correct the examinations, they are being paid. And then an examination is done only one day. I mean, okay, every subject has, I mean, it's a limited time compared to the time you spend in class. So maybe we should also start to see, is this the best way of investing the money?
Like the 23 billion.
Yeah,
Mr. Kotora
23.
said.
Now I'm saying, how much do we spend in examinations, preparation, invigilation, blah, 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 blah. There is so much money. And then you are, as I've said at the beginning, we are only measuring the cognitive. What about the social skills? What about the life skills? In terms of, as he said, preparation for human capital. So it brings me,
I'm
all
sure
of
everybody
us,
who is going to listen.
to the point where we say, shouldn't we revisit the?
Absolutely.
Are we really are we using the money effectively? Or can we rethink of another way of educating our children and evaluating their competencies?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Chengoma, please.
Actually, because the time was limited,
Yes.
I just wanted to give you the history of examinations that we give it now. But we are told Finland is one of the best countries where their population is highly educated. They don't do examination until after 6 years in school.
Not every time.
After 6 years of in school is when they can start giving them examinations. But they don't do examinations at the A stage. Examinations come later. Now, this sort of examination was based on a military organization. Formal education in Europe in the 3rd, 4th century of the Christian era was done mostly in the monastery. When the barbarians, the Germans, they were called barbarians because they had a bulb.
You're like me.
Yes.
I'm not a barbarian.
You know, they had a bulb. A bulb. When they conquered Italy, we call Rome, and the Roman Empire, they realized these people were sophisticated, but they had formal education in the monasteries. So Charlemagne, Charles the Great, wanted his soldiers to get the same education. But because he was a soldier, they should be tested after a few days. But in the good old days, examinations were never given to those who were doing education, were giving information. Or great thinkers of the old, they were disciples. You stay with your teacher for a certain time, you learn the skills, whether mathematical skills or rhetoric skills or philosophical skills, until now you will see that you are coming. It was up abroad. They were, let's say, modeled. They were given as a model. So a teacher was a model. Now, that's why the examination was not the best way. But the way you look at a person, is he or she going towards the objective of this school? Every school had kind of an idea. Again, just another point, because
Yes.
time is not with us.
Yes.
I remember the speech when Nyerere gave at Unyembe College in 1965 or 7, or 6 those years. I think in order to get a good quality education, you have not in build.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, time is an essence here. But very quickly, in the next 5 minutes before I wind up, I have to shorten my conclusion. Let's go around now. All what we have said here, very powerful. Very, very powerful. And I hope the powers that be who watch this program regularly will pick a lot of issues and ideas here for possible improvement. And let's have it as a national discussion, like President Mkapa said. Okay? So we go this way, very quick, 2
Yes.
seconds only. Ochoa, In your view, what really needs to be done by the government, parents, teachers, and students to improve performance in the examinations, but particularly in Kiswahili and basic mathematics in national examinations, if we are going to have a qualitative human capital? Very quick. What do we need to do? And all this.
Indeed, the issue of education of this nation needs a collective responsibility. As you have put it, everybody has a stake. It doesn't matter whether you are a parent or you are an institution or you are the government, or every person has a stake. But the number one thing is to really look at the policy, because it's the guiding principle for which would really lead everybody towards quality education. But another thing is to, like, as we see the performance of girls students, a lot of interventions has been done. So it might not need a total new idea, but we could replicate those interventions that have been used to empower girls, as we see it today that most of them are currently performing well.
Yeah,
girls' schools are performing well. So those kinds of interventions need to be revisited and be applied to some other areas where there is gap. But lastly, these results are not really different from the 2017 results, given the geo nature of the ranking, the performance of the regions, and so on and so forth. So we need to look at those places whereby the improvement has not been registered very well.
I think my
quality conclusion.
I think we should revisit the way of our people are very concrete. That's why mathematics is not coming in. Abstract means we should teach, train our people, not look at things and think they are what they are. Look at things and know that, number one, you can never see it. It's an abstract application of human, not something coming from God. Okay. How do we use our mind to be able to create the world? That's the mathematics. If you just look at the concrete, then we produce the people. We run to Kombe Chababu or Yondo because it is concrete.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ngombo.
There are a lot of things to discuss in education. We need to give it a lot of time as well.
Yes.
Use the right people, use every person, because anyone can give some information which is useful, but really a big undertaking which will spend some time and use many resources, including financial resources, to discuss and digest a lot of things that have been going around, including what you have said today.
Thank you very much, Mzee Mabonda. Lastly, Dr. Dinambaga.
Lastly, what I would like to say is that there is poor performance in mathematics, and this is not different from what was found out in 1991. So we need to go back and think what are the alternatives to examinations, so that we end up giving our children education instead of building competition, stress for parents, for children, and everybody around them.
Thank you very much. My panelists, I mean, your analysis and comments on these results has led into analyzing other important issues in the question of education. And the fact that you more or less brought it here, that quality education is very important. We need to go back and look at what are we doing wrong and not right so far. Because this has been a subject of discussion for a long time, that quality of education.
Failure and
Of course, we have a national education policy, but is it being interpreted properly? So all what you have said, Ochola, Dr. Shengoma, Mwalimu Mabonda, and Dr. Dina, are very important, and I believe viewers and the powers that be who are going to watch this program will have, and that will internalize, will assimilate what you have said here, and use it for a purposeful way, so that we get proper education, quality of education. Viewers, I don't have much time to conclude now, but my conclusion is the viewers expressed here are very, very basic, very important. I also believe in what they have said. So let us look at our education system in whatever way we want to do it, like it has been proposed here. Let us get to a conclusion and see we're improving our education system in order also to improve our capital, our human capital, which is very crucial for the industrialization agenda. That's all we have for you, viewers. Until next Monday at 9:30, and on Thursday at 15 hours, which is 3 o'clock, for the repeat program. On behalf of my very able panelists, Ochola wa Yoga, Dr. Jason Shengoma, Mwalimu Charles Mbonda, Mwalimu Dr. Dina Mbaga, and my television center crew. Thank you, viewers, and Happy New Year.